Hi everyone, what's going on? Good morning from Germany and good morning to Nigeria and other parts of the world. My name is Mike and I'm the guy behind Settling. And I have also with me another Michael, if you may. And today we are talking about a very interesting topic, as you may have seen. But before we proceed, I'd like, my special co-host to briefly introduce himself and then we get into the gist of today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Michael. This program is proudly sponsored by Settling, a platform that has been helping people to migrate seamlessly. It's a short plug for those who might want to migrate. A lot of things is happening, and the topic which we want to delve very deeply into today is one of those reasons why Settling exists. So, you may want to check on the profile. Settling is a platform like LinkedIn, but which is focused on helping people migrate uh, legally and seamlessly. So, you might want to check that out using the link which Michael is going to be providing. So that's all about it. So for today, we're going to be talking about love and leverage. This trend of our young people, guys and girls, traveling abroad or marrying for practical, economic, social, financial gain, just to gain entry to Europe and other parts of the world and several other reasons. So it is the reason why we're having this episode of our weekly podcast today. And so, yeah, thank you so much, Michael. I don't know, are you the stage now?
Yeah, thank you. Um, I guess that's what we're going to find out today if it's love or leverage. We don't know, right? So we'll find out. So we could not be conclusive.
Yeah. So is it love or leverage? So why? Because you see, somebody that you think ordinarily should not be even marrying somebody, you see the person getting married to this person, and people do this. I shared the picture with you of maybe like a 60-year-old getting married to a 90-year-old, somebody who should be a grandmother to this person. Ends up
Yeah,
they are working together. It's not the grandmother, but the wife.
yeah.
Uh,
Mm,
and the dangerous side of this is perhaps, normally age wise they cannot relate at same level, because this person is thinking at somebody at 70, and this person is reasoning at somebody there must be that gap, so which will definitely affect emotional connection and all that. So,
mm,
and their dreams are different, their values are different, their likes and dislike interests,
yeah,
because
yeah,
age informed this thing. So you wonder how
100%.
it's going to work.
Yeah. But it kind of seems to be working. That's why it's existing, right?
so 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 Michael, so if someone asks you what
Yeah,
is this marriage of convenience?
yeah. The thing is, when we look at it from an African perspective, so that means considering young African men getting married to older white women, the
Yeah,
first thing that comes to mind is what would happen normally back at home. You know, I think it's very cultural that the younger ones respect the elderly ones. So by
yeah.
default, you're not sexually attracted to them in the first place, you know. And if you get married to someone, then there's for sure that sexual attraction, amongst other things that attract you to the person. So just looking at it from that point of view, you say, okay, hey, this is not the default approach. A very young guy getting married to a very old lady. And if this was normal, then it should be happening a lot back home. But this is not what we see.
Yeah.
It's the reverse. It's the guys getting married to much younger women, which is kind of the norm that we see back home. But on the other side of the world, it's like the reverse. So maybe it's because it's the other side of the world, then it's the reverse, you know. But
Michael. Initially when this topic came up, I was thinking it's just a matter of maybe to gain visa, maybe a work permit or residency permit and all that. But I also realized that people also do that back here at home. You must be familiar with some stories of extremely young, beautiful people, full of life, a very promising future, who go get married to people
yeah.
who should be their grandfather to.
Hmm.
Which means people don't just do this to just gain visa necessarily or for migration
Yeah,
purposes.
yeah,
And
yeah.
people also do this thing, like when I went through, did some bit of research, I found that people do this also to escape social pressure, society pressure, societal pressure. You
Yeah,
don't old,
yeah,
you're now old, which you get married, culture and all these things also playing key role in why people go into
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah.
So
So frankly speaking, it's hard to pinpoint.
yeah,
Although when you see how it's happening in Europe, then there's a pattern there for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And if you
yeah,
look deeper into the story, it does not just um, end in court, them getting married and then living happily after. There are a lot of other stories that follow
yeah, yeah,
down the
yeah,
path.
yeah,
Um, I guess if you ask the question, why is this happening? Then for sure, one would most likely think about convenience,
yeah, yeah,
economic gain.
yeah,
But what I genuinely feel is that, again, this is from my point of view, whatever it is that drives someone to get into such kind of relationship, that if you look deeply and closely, you find alternatives. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
except you're happy in it, then okay. But if you're not happy in it, if you're doing it because you feel there's no other option, then I don't think that's the case because there are multiple other options. Um, so sometimes people do it out of desperation, and which again, why did you have to wait that long until you became desperate and then you just would take anything that comes?
I
Other
think
times it
that's your
could be
slogan. You like
other,
using this very statement. You like using this statement. Don't wait
yeah,
until it becomes very urgent or a matter of emergency.
because I mean, you find out that one usually has a lot of time up front, and
Yeah.
then somehow you don't do the things that you're supposed to do or you should do, and then it's kind of too late. Then you don't have the luxury of time anymore. The
Okay,
options are
sorry.
not there.
Michael, talking about getting too late.
Yeah.
Could you say it is already too late for a girl, if I could say, should I say a lady of 19 years, of 19, 16 years, who is
Mm.
just entering adulthood? Is it too late for such a person to already be desperate and go ahead and marry an, a very reasonably old man, like 70 years? Do you know that also the ladies are also getting married to the men?
Yeah, yeah,
As much
yeah,
as the
yeah. Of
guys are
course.
getting married to.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
is it this shift in value system or some other things?
It's really deep. Trust me. I've had conversations. Good thing you mentioned ladies. I've had conversations with ladies that are married to way older, like German or European guys.
Yeah.
And most of them, what they tell you is this: they're tired of the African guys. They can't trust them. There's no good African man out there. This is also something that we also have to think about. They tell you they are tired of the African guys. They're not genuine. They're not honest. They're this. They're that. And then it just feels a lot easier with the older white guy because they don't have anything to lose. They've seen it all. They've done it all. They have the old money, which is actually good money. You know. And there's not a lot that they want to do anymore. So you, as their partner, you just have your peace, and it goes the other way around too. You know, um, I think so. There are a couple of things there. On one hand, there's the convenience, there's the papers probably, and other stuff. But on the other hand, there is also just that peace of mind. You know, because if we check closely, we will also find people that are in that kind of relationship, not necessarily because of they want to get the residence permit, visa, or whatever, but they just want to have peace of mind. It's like a trade off. You go for the younger ones, they're young and vibrant, there are a lot of things they want to do. But maybe you, as someone, you already have set your mind on some things that you want to achieve in life, and it's actually a lot easier with someone who's a bit older than you because they don't have that. They are not as ambitious as you are anymore, so they're a bit more laid back, and that gives you, uh, yeah, that gives you the the environment that you need to thrive. So this is something I've also heard from conversations with other people, you know. But of course, what we see when we look at those pictures, the crazy pictures like the ones you shared before, it's like, bro, come on, what's up? What's happening here? Or like,
Okay,
sis.
now, okay, no, that now that you mentioned, so sorry. Now that you mentioned the picture that I shared with you, look at
Mm-hmm.
that guy's face. Do you think he was smiling into their marriage?
Honestly, I one could not tell a lot from one picture. One could not tell so much from that picture. But in most cases, I think if they had a choice, they probably would, do otherwise. Yeah, I think so. If they
No,
have a
but
choice,
this picture that we're talking about here, you could practically see this guy. The guy is frowning, like somebody who is being forced into this thing. It's like I mean, and they are both standing like strangers.
hmm
Normally, when couple marry and they are signing register, you see the smiles on their faces. But this
yeah,
guy,
you should see them in real life here. It's funny. It's
and
really
uh,
it's
and we
yeah
hear stories of their phones being smashed, them being kicked out of your I don't know whether your wife's home or what husband's home
yeah
now. Because
yeah
sometimes yeah, you're
yeah
supposed to be the
yeah
husband, but you end up being you don't even know how to
yeah.
define your status and
That's
you
right.
offend
It's
these ladies, they kick you out of the home and all
yeah.
those things.
Yeah. You like that thing that you were actually scared of. You end up experiencing it. It ends up happening to you because maybe you jumped into it for safety, for security, and all. But at what
Yeah.
cost? At the cost of your freedom, your dreams, your ambition.
Mm,
Because you can actually do a lot of things that you would genuinely want to do if you were
yeah.
with a say someone that you actually want to be with, who understands you. And we also have to think about the fact that the people that we end up with in life, in as much as there is love, but more importantly than love is understanding and mutual support. You know, I am with who I am today because plus I love them, but then also I know that I can be myself. I know that I can take all the risks that I want to take as an entrepreneur, and they would tolerate that. Not just tolerate, but they would support me. But not everyone can give you this room. Not everyone can give you this space. So if
Yeah.
you go into that kind of a relationship out of convenience, security, and every other thing, you cannot actually thrive. You can't do the things that you genuinely want to do because if it does not align with them, they throw you out.
Now, what you're saying, I think you tend to agree with this saying that nothing is absolutely free.
100%. No, you. There's always there always has to be a trade-off. You pay something for it.
Yeah. Okay. And now the main challenge here is sometimes what you pay is what you actually it is what you actually wanted to gain that you end up still paying as a price.
Then it's and sometimes you actually end up losing. You pay more.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Frankly
So
speaking, it just yeah. Finish your point, please.
no, you go ahead, please.
No, I'm just saying again. It all comes back to it again. Patience. Like people need to understand the value of time. There's so much time can do for you. I recall some time ago, my my little cousin, I think back then he was like maybe 9 or 10, and I was telling him about um my wife now, then we're still dating. I don't
Yeah,
recall he asked about her, and then I said, "Oh, we're still learning about each other, nothing so serious." And you know what this kid
yeah,
said? I was like,
uh,
"Yeah, she needs time. People need time.
yeah,
People need time.
yeah,
Time, time, like we have no idea how much or how valuable time is. Time is, in my opinion, the most important um, assets that we could think about because time will literally give you everything that you need, that you want, that you desire. So
mm,
if one knows how to manage their time, then you are in full control. Because, like you said, you thought you wanted to gain something, but then you end up paying and not actually gaining anymore, and you end up at loss.
yeah,
It goes back to again looking for the shortcut to do something. There's no shortcut to do something. No, there's only the right way to do it, and not the
yeah.
shortcut to do it. No.
Yeah, I think that's another very strong. You've just landed another very strong point here. There is no shortcut to doing something. There's only
No.
just the right way. Because when you
Yeah.
think you've succeeded, it takes you back again.
It takes you back again to square one.
Yeah, yeah, to square one. And at this time, you become more desperate because time, like you just mentioned, has passed.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
now we hear, I think in immigration world, they call these things sham marriages, where people just do this just for the purpose of the document.
Yeah.
And then when you go there, separation becomes difficult because it brings about legal pauses.
100%.
Mm, we are in the home, but we are like drivers. And
Yeah.
but because of the documents we're carrying, we have to keep acting it. Why do people have to go through this punishment? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I
it's just a
again, it's,
punishment.
it's the trade-off. You have to ask yourself, what are you giving up for this, or why are you taking this? What are you gaining to take this up? What are you gaining to take this up? And if people could have a glimpse of what the future looks like for them, I
Yeah.
think in most cases they'll see how far bright the future is than what they think. It's not as bad as people think it is. Sometimes even for me, I worry about stuff and I'm asking, and
Yeah.
then I sit back and I'm like, Mike, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like, let's just ask ourselves for every situation, except it's something very detrimental, your health.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
most of the things that we worry about, if we just sit down and ask ourselves, what would be the worst thing? You most likely end up with nothing. But because of just fear and feeling we are not in control, we just want to act, and do stuff.
It's more like taking laws into your hands and doing it your own way.
Yeah, yeah,
I I think it's something that God did, which is, and but we can question Him because
yeah,
He hides the future from you. You can't really
yeah.
see it. Like you rightly said, some persons who committed suicide today are in the future are supposed to be multi-billionaires,
Mm-hmm.
multi-billionaires in the future, but in the present things are looking really tough. But they make it's like making like it's a statement I like a lot. Taking permanent decisions from temporary situations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like you should not do that. You can't do that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's a good
So
one
and
actually.
yeah, yeah, because I think that's just the stuff. You are in and out of it patience, because you also mentioned patience. Out of it patience, you take permanent decisions from temporary situations and just spoil everything for yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Because the time that should be you should be used in nurturing your dream now, perhaps you are locked up or thrown back from Europe because the process you came is questionable. Your partner has laid a
yeah,
case against you and all of that,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then you are
yeah,
penalized in some way, and at the end you come back, you don't know where to take your footing, and you're
yeah,
depressed
yeah, yeah. Let me
and
actually touch on
traumatized.
that. Let me touch on that a bit because the thing is, it goes beyond the younger guys getting married to the older people.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
are also cases where the young guys also get married to the young European girls to
yeah,
ladies
yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah,
Um, we have to understand that as Africans, where we come from, whether we like it or not, and regardless of how long you've stayed abroad, some things are just part of your culture where you come from. You can't do anything
yeah,
about it.
yeah, yeah,
What you own is not 100% yours. You can
yeah,
keep fighting about it, but it's not yours.
yeah, yeah,
You earn your money. There are just some people back home, for whatever reason, you have to help them. We can keep fighting these till God's kingdom come. It won't change anything, you
yeah,
know? So, and there's certain part of our culture or just things that happen where we come from that it's not everyone understands it. If you're not from that culture, you don't understand it. You know,
yeah,
an average European would not understand why you're sending money back to your parents' home or your
yeah,
siblings,
yeah,
like you earn, and then you have a list of this cousin, that cousin. Some you've not even seen them before,
yeah, yeah,
and this is actually part of our life. There's the
yeah,
good side and the bad side, but I don't think it's something that one should struggle to change. In my case, what I try to do is I set the limit for sure, but then I make sure as well that I'm not just giving fish, but I'm teaching
yeah,
my younger ones how to become, fishermen, teaching them the
yeah,
way. Because
yeah,
I may not always be here, and even though I'm here, I may not always be reachable, and even though I'm
yeah,
reachable, I may not
yeah,
always be able to help. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
so the best thing would be that yes, in as much as one is assisting, that also you teach the other ones how to get better.
mm,
Give them access to the sources of what you do. But not every culture, especially here in Germany or other parts of Europe, understand this. The trends are changing, anyways. More and more people are beginning to understand. Now, coming back again, what happens is this: you get into a type of relationship where there's that fundamental understanding is not there, it's missing, whether it's a young European person or an older
yeah,
one. if
yeah, yeah.
it's if that deep understanding is not there, then it's more like a time bomb. It's only a matter of time before everything just explodes. Now the sad
I,
part
I,
is
I think it's good that you also mentioned this. because to make sure that there is proper compatibility, especially with the cultural background. I quickly tell you a story. I was working with some of my colleagues in London, and so
Yeah.
we got really close. And then sometimes when I crack some jokes, it sounds kind of offensive to her. You say, "What's the meaning of that?" That was
Yeah.
when I began to imagine what guys who get married to these ladies over there also go through, because the context is different. You see,
Yeah.
you can tell your colleague you're looking really beautiful today. You tell another colleague over there, Kai, man, you look really beautiful today. It
Yeah.
might come
Yeah.
to
It's
her as
offensive.
offensive
Yeah.
and all that. So I forgot that exact scenario situation, but the way she reacted was strange to me.
Mm-hmm.
And she's from Estonia, but staying in London and working there.
Yeah.
So and I was like confused. So just to allude to
Yeah.
what you're saying, yeah,
Yeah. And the thing is, I think for us, most times we are really chilled and we don't take things seriously, because yeah, life is not that serious. Just chill,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
But it's not the case. Something could just really be amplified, and you have no
yeah,
idea how that is going to
yeah,
explode, and that could
yeah,
be the beginning of the end of everything. And then it gets really terrible if there's like a kid in that relationship.
yeah,
There's one kid, two kid. Yo, that's just the beginning of the end of everything. If one is not
yeah,
able to manage the situation, in most cases, you may not even be married to that partner, but you have a kid together. You can be sure that until that kid turns 18, you're going to be paying child support. Not a bad thing because that's your kid. You should support your kid. But then in some cases, you could be paying child support for a kid that you don't even see, like you
mm,
have no access to the kid, that blocked the way. It's like the two people that used to be friends before just become like the worst enemies ever. And you just
mm,
ask yourself, hey, is it really that bad? How did things turn out? And frankly
yeah,
speaking, one always has to check each case to understand what happened, that we could not generalize because um, everyone is guilty. Like everyone in the situation is guilty of one thing or the other. And it's not to
mm,
blame the white person or to blame the African person. No,
yeah,
that's not the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
case.
I
You
don't
know?
know. Like on this program, we are not here to blame. We're just here to just have the conversation and then
Yeah.
start the ball rolling. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
yeah. So this is not to blame the white or the black or blame the old or the young. And I like your perspective.
Yeah. So
Mm,
for me, coming back to it again, is it love or leverage? Is both, you know?
yeah,
It's both because on one hand, there are people who genuinely just want to have their peace.
yeah,
But of course, what is really trending and what we see almost every other day is the leverage aspect.
yeah, yeah,
But that leverage aspect is really sad because what leverage do you even think you're getting? What leverage do you think you're having? You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it also goes back to the session we had some weeks ago where we were talking about people who try to go through the shortcuts, they go through boats, like the desert and all. And then when you check the qualifications some of those people have, they have the right qualification to go through legal routes. Again, do you think you were leveraging that shortcut to get to wherever you're going to? No. I feel like it comes back to ignorance, not being aware of, not getting the right information, not having the right network, the type of people that you are with. You know, what's even interesting is some people that fall into this kind of trap, they it's not like they're all of them actually needed that leverage. It's just sometimes out of peer pressure because you see someone doing it, you feel like, hey, oh wow, this looks really cool. But you're not that person and they're probably not telling you everything. So why would you do something because someone else is doing it?
yeah. You're like you're talking about peer pressure and societal pressure. These things are real.
Yeah,
Because sometimes you see, maybe like your schoolmate or your classmate or your neighbor and all that, and we can be very oppressive in this part of the world.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you have maybe your fiance or fiancé gave you $500. You will carry it, bring it on TikTok, social media, and flash it, say spend the dollar, and everybody knows that you have dollar. You want to sleep, you scatter it on your bed and say, I'm
No.
sleeping on dollar and all this. So and before you know, it becomes pressure for all other persons who are watching.
Yeah,
When will my own come? So once any person crosses their way,
Yeah.
Boom, it's
Boom.
yes
Yeah.
straight.
Yeah. Yeah. No, people need to think about this. People need to understand how valuable their lives are and what they can
Yeah,
do. And I feel like it's all happening because people don't know what they carry, what the future holds for them. And
yeah,
yeah, like you rightly said, there are, what was that permanent solution to a temporary problem? How did you put that again?
yeah. No, you don't make permanent decisions from temporary situations.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So now you you were talking about something. I think it has to be about knowledge of oneself. Okay,
Yeah,
even if the future is not bright, I think you should know what you carry now,
yeah, yeah.
because it gives you a sense of what the future should look like. If you know your
100%.
potential, yeah. If you know
Yeah,
your potential and who you
yeah,
are, you
yeah.
should not be. If you are resourceful and very talented, like a talented footballer that a club tells you that couldn't pass, what is it called, that year,
Fire.
whatever, trial.
Yeah,
You go
yeah,
to a club, you couldn't pass the trial. They say you're not good enough. You know yourself. You know what you're
yeah.
capable of doing with the ball. And so you just don't stop there and start looking for easy routes. You keep
That's right.
pushing
That's right.
until you get one that gives you the platform, and then you
Yeah,
express yourself. We've seen that
yeah,
with a lot of people.
yeah.
So I think the most recent is this non no this guy, this Iberechieze of Crystal Palace. If you hear his stories, you will have given up before you reach the end of the story because of the many rejections and all that.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
God somehow gives us a glimpse of the future because
yeah,
of because we know who we are. You know your talent. You know what you can
yeah,
do. Even what we're doing here. To be very fair, when we started this podcast, sometimes we don't get to see anybody on the call.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But we
Mm-hmm.
keep doing it because we know the value that we are creating and that we are adding. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of feeling like no, people are not here, we rather feel sorry that people are not being part of this information, this high quality conversations that we are having. So it's not
Yeah,
about you
yeah.
not being there yet. It's about people not just.
No.
There is a way you say these things. A team
100%.
say,
Yeah.
yeah, a team says you're not good enough after the trial that you should just go home. You're not sorry for yourself. You're sorry for the team
For
who
them,
couldn't see the
it's their
quality in
loss.
you.
It's their
It's
loss.
a
Yeah,
loss. That's how you see it. So
yeah,
it's just a matter of perspective, Michael, if I be say.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, people should put this in every situation. It also
Yeah,
applies when you are looking for a job and you don't get hired.
yeah,
It's not your loss, it's theirs, because you are
yeah,
the one bringing the value. We always have
yeah,
to think about ourselves as the person bringing the value, bringing something onto the table. So
yeah,
if someone does not let you do that by rejecting you or whatever the case might be, it's not your loss because you are bringing
mm,
something.
yeah,
It becomes the case if you were just going there solely to take. So then,
yeah,
okay, you're
yeah,
lost. But
yeah,
if you
yeah,
know what you have and you know
yeah,
that wherever you are, you're going to make impact, then that changes everything. It changes also the way you relate. It changes the way you talk. It changes the way people also see you. It changes literally everything about your life because you know that, hey, you're coming from a point of value giving. So
yeah,
that gives you a solid position. And then it also makes you have a higher negotiating power, and that makes all
mm,
the difference.
yeah,
Literally, even in a relationship with your spouse, your partner, you don't have to rush it. If you
yeah,
know what you have, what you're bringing, and if they don't see that, then that's their loss.
yeah. Okay, now that is knowing who you are is key. Like the philosopher will say, "Man, know thyself." I think that's everything. It's everything. Just know
100%.
yourself.
Know
Just know
yourself.
yourself. So I know your value and know who you are.
Yeah.
Don't treat yourself like just a very cheap commodity. Very
No.
important. Now,
No.
to conclude, what do you think is the way forward? How can we at least reduce this thing? Because, like you rightly pointed out, yes, it's not in all the cases that it is leverage, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's also love. So,
Yeah.
as always, you're not choosing either love or leverage. You went for love and leverage.
Yeah, but for sure, I do accept the obvious that it's a trend. A lot of young African men are getting to older white women. This is, and
Yeah,
in most cases, it's for leverage. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I can
yeah,
say this point blank because I've spoken to people, I've seen them, I've seen the relationship. But of course, there are also cases where it's purely for love, you know.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
Now, touching on the leverage aspects, we have to ask ourselves, or rather, the people going into this have to ask themselves, what leverage do you think you're going to get from that? That would be the first question. What exactly are you looking for? And yeah, the thing is, we can talk how much we want to talk, but for a lot of people, it's like until that thing happens, there's nothing that you say that's going to convince them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, I get.
I'm hoping that at least for someone who is not that far, as you just that you're not in a situation like that, that you can actually make good use of this information, and which is there is no kind of there is no leverage that you should take and give up who you are or who you're going to become. Like there could not be, and that's the only leverage you have, who you are.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you give that up because of some other
The
thing,
real leverage is who you are.
the real leverage is who you are. It's nothing else, because
Yeah,
that's what you have full control of.
yeah,
You're who you are. You decide what you want to do. You can plan your life. If you give that up, then
yeah,
you've given up everything.
yeah.
And there couldn't be any other leverage that would be more important than that.
Wow, wow.
It's
This is
kind
so
of
strong.
it's deep, and I hope that people can understand it, because it's who you are is all the leverage that you have and all the leverage that you need,
Yeah.
because that's the powerhouse where everything is coming from that controls everything.
Okay. Now to sum things up, how can we again address this? What are the ways out of this?
The first and foremost thing is this:
Yeah.
if one understands why they want to do that, then the next thing will be, what are the alternatives?
Very good.
Let's take a couple of reasons. The number one reason is that we believe it's probably they want to A, move abroad,
Yeah.
or B, they're already abroad and they want to settle down there and they need
Mm,
the papers. Those are usually like the two top situations.
mm,
But for each of these, there are alternatives, which keeps you in full control. The first one is, how do you move abroad? There are multiple ways, and that's what we
mm.
talk about on this show every time, and that's what settling is all about. There are multiple ways for you to move abroad, regardless of your age. That's one thing people have to understand. Regardless of your age, your qualification, your experience, there are multiple ways for you to move abroad beyond marriage.
Michael, please permission to just distract you a little bit. I think I've been hearing from several sources. I think that the best destination in Europe is maybe this should be a conversation for another day. But I've been
Okay.
hearing that what is it Germany and which other country two best destinations in Europe, and Germany is always mentioned among just two of them, and Germany
Yeah,
is one of them. I've forgotten the second one. So maybe we could talk about this some other time more
for sure.
deeply. Yeah.
For sure. I just would
Uh,
like to add to that best destination is always relative. Of
oh yeah,
course,
yeah,
there's overall where favors most of the people.
yeah,
But at the end, before one chooses, still narrow it down to who you are, like, and what you
yeah.
want. But Germany, in
And what
most
you bring to the table.
what you bring to the table, yeah.
Yeah.
But Germany, in most cases, would fit for a lot of people, no doubt. By the time you know, do the check and balance. So
Now, I was discussing with a friend, and he said, like, for instance, if you lose your job in Europe, in Germany, or some other parts in New Zealand and all that, they have a social safety net that catches you,
that's right.
and so that sort of takes care of you and your family reasonably before you get back on your feet again.
That's
But in
right.
Nigeria or in most parts of Africa, if you lose your job, if you're not very, very proactive and prudent, you might find yourself, I mean, looking like a crazy man on the street
Yeah.
because there is no arrangement to catch you. No, the
Nothing.
social welfare system does not exist.
Yeah.
If you have to provide water for your family, provide healthcare, provide power, provide everything. So I think these are some of the underlying issues that makes people to want to run because it doesn't tend to the situation at home doesn't tend to promise you anything.
Nothing.
So
Nothing.
now and I think this is completely outside the control of myself and you.
Yeah, which again now brings you to the point of, what can you do for yourself
Oh
that you're
yeah,
going to have
yeah,
full control of. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So coming back to the alternatives which I was talking about, when it comes to
Yeah.
moving abroad, the first thing that I wanted to say is that, yeah, getting married for the sake of moving abroad, it's not the only way, and it's probably not the right way for you to do it, except you genuinely are in love with this person and that's the plan that both of you have. Then fine, but that should not be like where you put all your eggs. Definitely not, because you can't control that. So that's the first thing. And the alternative path now depends on your profile. But what I just want to emphasize is it does not depend. Your age is not like you're not excluded because of your age. You don't have to be the most experienced professional. You definitely don't have to have the highest grade. So it all comes down to who you are and what you're looking for. And that's what settling is all about. Who am I? Where do I want to go to? What's going to work best for me? And then you get the necessary information. And not just from people actually that have been there before or people who are in the process. The other aspect is you're already here and you want to settle down because, yeah, you're running out of papers and all. I have a couple of recommendations. The first thing is if you're not yet in that desperate situation, then please don't wait until that happens. It's really sad that some people come here actually legally, either on a student visa, a tourist visa, or something, and they don't think ahead. And then they wait till everything, yeah, like you're talking about losing your job. I give an example. You are in Germany, you studied, you have a job, your residence is all good, but you don't have a permanent residence yet. And then you lose your job. Fine. If you've been paying your social contribution in the last 12 months, you will fall under that safety net for a period 6 months, 12-month max, for example. But after that, time is now counting because you're going to have to renew your residence at some point. So if you don't have a job before renewing it, then you are at risk of, leaving the country. And this might be when people get into like a desperate situation. In a case like that, you don't have to wait until that happens. You need to think, do I want to stay in Germany long term? If this is the case for me, then I already have to be thinking, when am I due to get my permanent residence? So I take care of this well in advance. Or if this job, I'm going to lose this job, what next can I do? So,
Okay, so now I think this should be a whole topic again for another day.
mhm,
Avoiding desperate situations.
100%.
More like acting. So I think we have to come up and put up all the possible desperate situations and how to avoid them. So it's
Yeah.
going to be another another session entirely. So now
Yeah.
for today, now there is to control this very menace. I think we have to create more awareness. Don't you think so? There has to be awareness, like what we are doing now, for people to
Yeah.
know that
More awareness.
you can't just sell your destiny just for
Yo.
a pot of porridge like Esau did.
Yeah. 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 I guess the first
Because
step is
you are
whoever is
hungry now, because you want to quench the hunger, you sell a whole destiny.
a whole destiny. And then what happens after you're
You
okay?
are
I mean,
not
you're going to get
satisfied.
hungry again,
Yeah.
you know? And then
Which
what?
other destiny would you sell?
Yeah. But I just would like to
Okay.
say, yeah, whoever is watching this, please feel free to, yeah, share this video, send it to someone that you think should watch this video. All we're really doing here is to see, to let people know that, hey, we are here to thrive and not to survive. There's
Yeah.
something we
Yeah.
have to offer. Everyone, like literally, no matter who you are, and even though people have told you you're useless, you're this, you're that, deep down there are many things that you can do that all the people around you cannot do. That when it comes to
Yeah.
that particular thing, they call on you regardless of what they think about you you
Yeah.
know
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone has something to offer, and we should
Yeah.
always approach life from this perspective. And this is
Yeah.
what we are all about here. It's not to say, hey, the guys who get married for leverage, they're whatever. No, it's just to say, okay, hey, is that the best that you can do for yourself?
Yeah. So, and I think on that note, we would have to draw the curtain on the conversation for today. So we cannot exhaust this conversation, but the conversation continues in the comment section. And but should you need support on movement
Yeah, feel free to get in touch with me. Mike is hanging.
in Europe, if you want to come and work, they give you all of that support. So Settling is a platform, and Michael is here to give you all the resources that you need to make it Lego, and then so that you can enter, actualize your dream without necessarily selling your destiny.
That's right. Don't give up the
Yeah,
only leverage which you have, which is you.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Thank you
Okay.
so much, everyone. We see you again next weekend.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend. Cheers for
Yeah.
now.
All right, dear. Bye.
So.